فاليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قول من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أزل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون أصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنا يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على كافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. For the peace of soul of all your beloved one, this Surah Yasin is dedicated for all parents and relatives of attendees, particularly the recent ones, father of Brother Hikmat, who passed away recently, and all the other souls of all attendees who passed away. Please recite Fatiha ma'al Ikhlas wa Salawat. This Surah Yasin is dedicated to blessing of their souls. Thank you very much.
أزور سيدي ومولاي ومعتمدي ورجائي وذخري وذخيرتي في آخرتي ودنياي الإمام الحسين عليه السلام بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا ثأر الله وابن ثأره والوتر الموتور، السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات، فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم يا أبا عبد الله. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية وقاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجان، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثأرك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برأت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أولياءكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب ثأري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم، وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد، اللعين ابن اللعين، على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم العن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يومان فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم العن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم العن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت على قتله. اللهم العنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعل الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا، ثم العن الثاني، ثم الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا، والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم، الحمد لله على عظيم رزيته. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا موجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلى الله على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخالق الأجمعين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين حبيبنا وحبيب إليه العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى طيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين ولعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى أرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميع سلام الله عبدا وما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله الآخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. سلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Assalamu alaikum to all the brothers and sisters. May Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam accept your prayers and your mourning for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. So at the beginning sessions that we started, we said the importance of these majalis. We went on to having a discussion about what Iman is, and that went on for a little while because of the importance. Then we said the characteristics of the companions of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and what these characteristics were, how we can implement that in our own lives, and why these characteristics are important for a human being, for a Muslim, for a mu'min to have, to reach sa'adat, reach this immortal felicity. And we said, why is it important? So that these belief system that we have, this theology that we have, this iman that we have, it is through knowing and through logic and through wisdom, through intellect. Not just by knowing something because our forefathers have known these, or accept it blindly. The importance of accepting something through intellect and reason. And continuing on that path, an important subject which was deemed appropriate, especially for these days to come, because of the day that we have of Aun and Muhammad, the two sons of Bibi Zainab alayhi salam, and the next night, which is Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam, that these three individuals had this in abundance, is Tohit, the oneness of God. Now Tohid in Islam, in Shia faith, is more than just a dry belief that yes, there is a God and that God is one. Because you see in other religions that you have seen, for example, in Christianity, I know in our lectures we usually give the example of Christianity more than other religions because we're exposed to them more than others, especially in the West. So for example, in Christianity, if the fact that you just believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, exactly with these words, that guarantees you heaven, it guarantees you sa'adat, your immortal felicity. However, if you don't believe it and none of your actions are bad, they're good, there is no heaven for you. And on the other hand, they believe if your actions are all but mistakes, however you have this one belief, heaven is for you. Because the Holy Ghost has a place in your heart, for example. That's what they say. In Shia faith, your actions is the thing that shows your faith. If your faith is true and your faith is real, it shows through your actions. This is the difference. And you cannot find this in any other faith, even in Islam. Shia Asna Ashari does much ta'keed on this one thing, which is to act upon the things that you believe in. And this is what separates us. This is the thing that makes your belief system and your iman day by day go forward so you can reach high levels of spirituality, have a relationship with God. Because our relationship with God is definitely, some are lower and some are higher. And it's to do with taqwa, it's to do with iman. So the subject matter of Tohit, there is two types of Tohit, which we want to speak about, inshallah. One is the worldview of Tohit. So in Islam, when we have a worldview of Tohit, what does that mean? What does that indicate for us? And the ideology of Tohit. What is ideology of Tohit? These are two different things. One is worldview, and one is ideology. Now I know in the English dictionary, the way that they use ideology, and usually with ideology and theology, it's just how you believe in it. But in Islam, in the way that we want to explain it, and the ulama of Islam, the ulama of Shia have explained, ideology is different to the worldview that you have. And we want to mention all of this worldview under a certain ayah in the Quran. And that's a famous ayah from the Quran, the ayah of 255 of Surah Baqarah, which is famous for Ayatul Kursi. In the first verse is Allahu la ilaha illa hu. There is no Allah but Him. And it's special because it doesn't say that there is a God. Because if you say that there is a God, it means, okay, that you have a God, but there might be another one as well. What it first does is, it says there is no God but Allah. So all of these things that you believe are gods, and for some people it's different things. For example, for a person it might be the idol that they worship. For some people it might be themselves that they worship. Their body, their materialistic things are so important for them that that becomes their God. It's like they're worshipping it. Nothing is as important as the things they own, as the things that they have, or nothing is as important as their stomach, for example. They know this is haram, but they still eat it. Why? Because their stomach is more important. This is shirk. Shirk in a certain section of your belief system, which we want to mention the qualities that it implicates. So when we say that there is Tohid in Islam and there is a oneness of God, what does that mean and what does that indicate? And what obligations does that have on our necks that we need to do with this belief? A famous scholar, which is buried in the shrine of Bibi Ma'suma alayhi salam, with the name of Ayatollah Sa'adat Parvar. He was the student of Allama Tabatabai rahmatullah alayh. A famous quote from his students that we always hear is that he always used to say, "We don't believe in a God which is aside." Now what does that mean, aside? As in, we don't believe in a God which has created the world, created mankind, and now is on the sidelines and watching the earth unfold. We don't have this ideology. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us in every day. Of course, many of you, the brothers and sisters, have heard that Allah is closer to you than the vein in your neck. Now, what does this ideology exactly mean? What do we mean? The worldview, what does it exactly mean? Because ideology comes after. First, we want to explain the worldview. Worldview is the derivement that you can take and the way that you view the world, human beings, and the relation between humans and the world. Of course, the study of ontology, which is the study of humans, there's two parts into it. One, they look into the history of humans. They look into our forefathers, and they look into the things that are the things that they find from the ground, and they try to derive what civilizations used to exist and what does this mean. However, a second section is under this meaning, which is the theology behind a person, the belief behind a person, the existence of a person, and what's its origins. Where does it come from? And in Farsi and Arabic we call it insan shanasi. This is extremely important. How do we view a person? If you look into the West and the Western view and the Western ideology, a human is nothing but a materialistic thing. It is born and it dies. After that, it's nothing. Therefore, what do? They only give you the materialistic things. And as we said in the 4 sessions, when we spoke about the rate of, for example, that they say these countries are the best countries, however, they have extreme suicide rates, for example. I gave an example of, for example, Finland, where it won the best, happiest country for a couple of years from 2019 onwards. Well, exactly, I don't remember how many years. And on those same years, it was second and sometimes third, sometimes fourth on suicide rates. In percentage, we're talking about. A population with 5.5 million people, and is not that much, with a very high rate of suicide rate. Now, why is that? If everyone's happy, why is it? Or the rate of depression, for example. If you look at America, if you look at the UK, if you look at other European countries, the depression rate is extremely high. However, if you go into another third world country, as they say third world country, you wouldn't see it as much. Even though if you look at them, all these persons have a better life and they have cars and houses and it's with materialistic things that they come and give you your worth and your class. In some places it's with your ethnicity, unfortunately. They classify you with your ethnicity. But in other places, they classify you with how much money you make and how much money you have and the things you own. In the ideology of Islam, the ideology of Tohit, the thing that classifies people and classes them and ranks them is taqwa, their iman. These are all together, their taqwa, their iman. Because taqwa is the fi'l, is your doing, is a verb. And iman is the thing that you get from that, which we mentioned in the previous lectures. This feeling in your heart that you have, it comes with acting upon the things that you believe in. However, when we look at the West, there's no sign of spirituality. There's nothing to comfort you in the terms of your spirit, in terms of your soul. Why? Because it's of their ideology. It's the worldview that they have of a person. This is the relation, see? When in Islam, the way that they describe an insan, a human being, there are a few ayahs. So, the first one is the physique, which is alaqa. Alaqa becomes muz'ir. Muz'ir becomes the famous ayah of how a human changes in the womb of their mother. However, there is one which the ulama have said this is what a human being is. Ya ayyuhan nas antumu fuqara ila Allah. This is what describes what a human is. A human is a person which has nothing compared to Allah. That's what it is. But there's another difference. Isn't that the same as every other creation? A human can understand that they are faqir next to Allah, that they have nothing. Faqir is a person that has nothing. And it says, Antumu fuqara ila Allah. If we look into our day-to-day life, we can see we have nothing apart from if Allah gives us. The strength you have, it comes from Allah. The air you breathe, it comes from Allah. The power to get up in the morning comes from Allah. According to narrations, the fact that you go to sleep, He takes your life, and every day that you wake up, He gives it back to you. And that's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything is from Allah. You have nothing that comes from yourself. Can you name anything that comes from yourself and you are the one that did it without the help of Allah? Not just us, the Ma'sumin alayhi salam, all the prophets. And this is what they taught us. Once a young man came to the Prophet and the Prophet asked him, who do you love more, yourself or me? And he said to Ya Nabi, of course I love you more. And the Prophet asked him again, who do you love more, your parents or do you love me more? He says, Ya Nabi, of course I love you more. You're the Rasulullah, you're the Prophet of Allah. And the Prophet asks a third time, who do you love me more, Allah or me? And the young man answers to the Prophet, Oh Allah, I love you because of Allah. Of course I love Allah more. The reason I love you, this is the same. You are from Allah. The reason I love you is because Allah loves you. Because you are the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I love you this much. And the Prophet gave a smile to show, mashallah, to show his happiness and his joy at this young boy with this Tohit that he has. The importance of Tohit, if we want to sum it up in one sentence, is that if every single prophet that has come from Adam alayhi salam all the way to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they all have had this importance, they paid this importance to the Bas of Tawheed. Each one of them. And they've sacrificed many of their wealths, their lives, the livelihood of their families for Tawheed. Even Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he fought because of his Tawheed, the ideology of Tawheed. If we look at the story of Karbala, Imam Hussein wasn't a person that said, okay, Allah exists and that's it. Because we come to the next section, and this is why Imam Hussein stood up against Yazid, is that if there is Allahu la ilaha illahu huwal hayyul qayyum, Allah is Hayy, Allah is Qayyum, the only thing that is alive is Allah, the only thing that is Qayyum, that stays and will stay, and there was never a day that Allah wasn't here, and there will never be a day where Allah isn't. If He's the reason of existence of every single soul and every single matter of the existing universe, then the person that should rule is Allah. The person that makes the rules should be Allah. And under the domain of Allah, there is no cruelty. There is no killing. There is no imposing your power against another person, as Yazid did all of them. When we see the Ma'sumin alayhi salam, when they ruled, when Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, when Amir al-Mu'mineen ruled, he did not let even his brother take from the Baytul Mal. He did not let anyone take from the Baytul Mal. A hadith from Imam Hassan alayhi salam says, we had a better life before my father was the Khalifa than after he was a Khalifa. Because Amir al-Mu'mineen said, if I'm going to be Khalifa, I have to live as the lowest of people. How the poor people are. And that was a tough time for the Muslims. So I have to be like them. If I'm a true leader, I have to be like them. And if we see the khulafa, the other khulafa, whether it be Harun al-Rashid, whether it be Ma'mun, whether it be Yazid, their lives were not the way that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein lived, the way that Imam Hassan lived, the way that Imam Ali alayhi salam lived, the way that they acted. It all comes to this ideology of Tawheed. The reason that the Ahlul Bayt are so respected, so loved by human beings, by Muslims all over the world. The reason of this is because they were the true abd of Allah. They were true servants of Allah. They were the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They didn't just say Huwa al-Hayyul Qayyum, they believed Huwa al-Hayyul Qayyum. When Amir al-Mu'mineen says, if all the curtains come away from my eyes, nothing will be added to my iman, to what I believe in, it's because he sees everything. He knows this. In Masjid-e-Kufa, it's a famous narration that a Jewish scholar came to Imam Ali alayhi salam and said, do you believe in God? And of course Imam Ali alayhi salam said yes. He says, do you see God? And Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam says, he has a sentence which says, oh, what are you saying? Like he's shocked at his word. What are you saying? I don't praise and pray the thing that I do not see. And then he asks Imam Ali alayhi salam, so you see God with your eyes? And Imam Ali says, he laughs at him, he's like, it cannot be seen with the eyes that we have. Allah can be seen with the heart. Everything in His existence is an ayah, is a sign from God. However, some signs reflect God in a higher way than the others do. With the hadith of Imam Rida alayhi salam, where he has that people are like mirrors and they reflect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Each person, the cleaner they get, the purer they are, the cleaner this mirror is, the better it reflects Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And who reflects better Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the Ahlul Bayt, and Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and Abul Fadl al-Abbas. The reason that Imam Hussein says, my back is broken when Abul Fadl al-Abbas is martyred, is because he resembles Allah to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein sees Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Abul Fadl al-Abbas. Every of his actions, everything he does, it reflects Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is all because of the worldview of Tohit that they have, the ideology of Tohit they have, and the way they implement this, and the duty that this brings for each of them. The duty is to be martyred next to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. This is the duty of Tawheed. When we go to Hajj, and the Takmilat al-Hajj, the completion of Hajj, is Ru'yatul Imam, seeing the Imam. When the ayah says, أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي, this is what an Imam is. When an Imam is, يَا أَيُّهَا الرَّسُولُ بَلِّغْ مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ. The importance of Imamat is that if it's not said, there is no Risalat. It's as if there was no Risalat. Imamat is linked, the Wali of Allah is linked with Tawheed. And the reason that they are here and they have come to grab our hands and pull us to this Tawheed is that we reach this ideology and we act upon it. Otherwise, why would they be here? They themselves have already reached the high levels. They're already with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason that they come back, the reason they have this baqa, which is coming back, the reason that they have this is to pull us with them. Otherwise, they have no need to come back. When we read Surah Ikhlas, Lam yalid wa lam yulad, first thing that we think is, this is in the ideology of Tawheed. This is why we're collecting each ayah from the Quran, reflecting upon it with this ideology of Tawheed. When we say Lam yalid wa lam yulad, Allah is not born, does not give birth, and He does not give birth Himself. Of course, this is the translation that we all understand. However, there's a relation that Allah is trying to say. When we look at a mother, for example, this is a tafsir from one of the greatest mufassirin of Quran, the ulama, that when we look at a mother and a mother gives birth, what happens to the baby? It gets separated. And then you cut the cord, the umbilical cord. And this is the beautiful section that we want to mention, is that if the mother, God forbid, dies, the baby will still be alive. It's not dependent. It's a bit dependent on milk, but it's not dependent anymore after it's been born. However, the relation with God and its creation is not like lam yalid wa lam yulad. After the creation, when Allah creates, He does not go to the side. See what Ayatollah Sa'd al-Barvary said, that we don't believe in a God that is aside from us, is separated from us. Your highness, your existence is connected to Huwa al-Hayyul Qayyum. Because He exists, you exist. When we said the worldview is the worldview of the existence of the earth and the universe and the existence of a person, an insan, because an insan exists only because of Allah. Ya ayyuhan nas antum fuqara. And the later ayahs, when we look at it, says wash-shafi, the shafi, yashfa'u. Shafi is shafa'at. That these ma'sumin alayhi salam, they come and guarantee for us. They're a type of, we go to them so that they go to Allah, because we are so impure, because we don't possess this purity. It's not from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's from us. The problem is from this side, not from that side. The impurity does not let us go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we need a shafi. However, this shafi is not next to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's another market that called the market of this, and then separately there's a market of Allah. These are vertical together, not horizontal. They're not next to each other. If this shafi gives shafa'at to you, it's only because Allah deemed it so. Only because Allah deemed it so. However, it's a tool for Allah to use to pull us closer. So this is the answer to so many of the Ahl Sunnat which say these things. We need shafis. Otherwise, why would in Surah Baqarah this Ayatul Kursi mention the shafi? The Prophet's a shafi. However, does that mean that the Prophet is separate from Allah, so Allah doesn't really want to forgive you because you've committed too much sin, and then He's like, no, okay, so because the Prophet said, I'll just accept him. Is that how it is? Of course not. Allah deemed it so, and that's how you use the Ahlul Bayt. These nights, these beautiful nights that we have, and each one of them are going after one and after each other. We're on the 6th day now. These are the opportunities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gave us to purify ourselves. These are the chances that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gave us a few words that we can use, and the moment we leave that door, we are expected, it is our duty to implement this in our lives. Not just hear it and it's been said in one ear and out the other. Well, for example, when we say this sifat, the characteristics of the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, the purity they had, the iman they had, the sabr, the patience they had, the ones that we mentioned last lecture, we're supposed to implement this. This is the ideology of Tohit. It is the ideology of Tohit which made Abdullah ibn Hassan want to run into the qatl to his uncle Imam Hussein alayhi salam and give his hand. It's the ideology of Tohid that pushes the two sons of Bibi Zainab alayhi salam at this young age, 113, 111, it's narrated. It's narrated for them to give their lives for their Imam, not just uncle, but their Imam. Of course, the brothers and sisters know when Abu Abdullah al-Hussein was leaving for Karbala, Bibi Zainab went with him. When Bibi Zainab was about to be married, betrothed, when they said that the son of her uncle has come to ask for her hand, Bibi Zainab loved her uncle so much, and she wanted to accept, but with a condition. The condition that she made to her husband was that wherever my brother Hussein goes, I will go with him. If you accept this condition beforehand, I accept. All the Ahlul Bayt, all the prophets before the Prophet of Islam knew that Karbala will happen. As we mentioned, the different narrations from Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, they all knew there was going to be a Karbala. When her husband was too sick to follow, and Bibi Zainab alayhi salam left, he sent his two sons with Bibi Zainab. He said, I couldn't go. Let me send my two sons so that they would be sacrificed in the way of Hussein. This is the ideology of Tawheed. He knew in the ideology of Tawheed, we have a Waliullah. We have a person who is the Wali of Allah on earth. This Waliullah is that everything on earth that happens, it is with His command that happens. Our Waliullah right now is Imam Zaman alayhi salam. Is it not? A famous story many years ago, a person from a city called Shahriyar, it's near Tehran, he leaves to go to Imam Rida alayhi salam in Mashhad, and he was a very successful man and he had good amount of money. So he gathered some of his money and he went to Mashhad, and at those times of course it took long to get to another city, especially Mashhad, which is around 1,000 kilometers away on the other side of Iran. So he goes to Mashhad and he goes into the shrine, and his money is stolen from him inside the shrine. And with a type of complaint to Imam Rida alayhi salam, he says, did you not see what happened? And if you saw it, why did you let it happen? So he asks Imam Rida alayhi salam to help him. And after he's in the shrine crying for many hours, he has nothing now, he can't get back, he doesn't even have money to eat food or a place to stay. As he's crying in the shrine of Imam Rida alayhi salam, he falls asleep. He falls asleep and he sees Imam Rida alayhi salam say to him, after the morning prayer, at the door when you're leaving, the first person that comes out, ask him for your help. We've sent him to help you. So he wakes up and after morning prayer he does as he's told. He sees that the person that comes is famous in Mashhad. They call him Ismail bin Namaz. Ismail that doesn't pray, doesn't perform namaz. He's famous for this. And he's shocked. So he doesn't mention anything to him. Again, he goes to the shrine and he cries and falls asleep. The same dream is repeated for a second time. So he comes back again now. At the door he sees Ismail again. He goes up to him. As soon as he goes up to him, he says, hello. He's like, you need money, don't you? your money was stolen? He was like, yeah, how did you know? He gives him an envelope, says, on the last day when you're about to leave, come back here after morning prayer and tell me and we'll go together. He's a bit shocked and he doesn't say anything. He goes off, he looks into the envelope and it's the exact amount of money that he lost. The exact amount. So he spends this for a couple of days and stays in the shrine of Imam Rida alayhi salam and stays there and does his ziyarat. On the last day that he wants to stay, he goes exactly where he's told and he sees Ismail bin Amas come and they go together outside of the shrine. Outside of the shrine, just in front of Bab al-Jawad, is a famous marketplace called Sarshur. Now it's full of, if you go there, there's full of like hotels that they've made now. And it's got a lot of tight alleyways. So they go into a few of these alleyways and then they wait until there's no one there. And Ismail says to him, come on my back. He says, what do you mean? You're an old man. Why should I come on your back? He says, come on, I'm telling you to come on my back. So he gets on his back and they take a few steps and he sees that he's in a garden. He looks around and he sees he's in his own garden in Shahriyar. So he's baffled. He's completely baffled. He goes and sits down. He says, make some fire, let's have some tea, and so on and so forth. He asks him, listen, I genuinely have a question. They call you Ismail bin Namaz. Why is it that they call you that? And he smiles and laughs. He says, oh, the people don't see my prayers usually, because I pray behind Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam. Usually they don't see my prayers. Back then everyone would come to the masjid, they knew each other, there wasn't that much population of course. And he says, so how did you know? He says, when you pray to Imam Rida alayhi salam, this is the point that we want to make. When you pray to Imam Rida alayhi salam, he told Imam Hazrat Hujjat, Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam, because everything is Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. At this time, everything is under Hazrat Hujjat alayhi salam. And he's the one that the whole world runs under. If a leaf falls from a tree, Imam knows about it. Imam al-Zaman knows. It's with the permission of the Imam al-Zaman that if the leaf falls from the ground. This is Hujjatullah. When we say in Surah Qadr, Malaikata wa Ruh, all the Malaikat wa Ruh come to the Imam of your time on the night of Qadr. It would come to the Prophet and then to Imam Ali alayhi salam and so on and so forth to the Imam of our time. Malaikat, tanaddalu al-Malaikata wa Ruh. They all come to the Imam alayhi salam. And the thing that we should be worrying right now and pondering right now is how is the heart of Imam al-Zaman in this month of Muharram. Each of the Imams, when we hear narrations, we read narrations, is that they would never have even a slight smile on their face in the month of Muharram. Narrated that the Imam Zaman alayhi salam, there is not a day that he doesn't cry blood. Blood doesn't come from his eyes the way that he cries for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. As we know, today is devoted, in many different cultures, it's devoted to different people, because as all the brothers and sisters of course know, all of Ashura happened in one day, and they all got martyred in one day. It's not different days. However, because it's narrated that we should start the morning of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein from the beginning of Muharram, each day is devoted to a certain person and we mourn a certain person. Now this is done in different ways. In different cultures they do it in different ways. There is of course a lot of characters that are extremely important to the story of Ashura and the story of Karbala. However, it was deemed appropriate for our sessions to have and devote today's lecture to Hazrat Onan, Hazrat Muhammad, the two sons of Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. All the brothers and sisters together. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Brothers and sisters, every day of Muharram is passing and it's going with such a speed that we cannot believe. Brothers and sisters, don't lose this chance to cry for your Imam, to mourn him. We said in the lectures, when it's a zulm has happened, a cruelty has happened, a cruelty with this eminence has happened, you should shout to the top of your lungs. Ashura is the biggest mourning of Shia, or Islam, not even just Shia, Islam. It is the biggest mourning that has ever happened in the history of mankind because of who it happened to. Not just what happened, but who it happened to. To Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. If we want to learn patience, we should learn it from Zainab. Zainab is the mountain of patience. Dear brothers, I expect you guys to cry extremely tonight, but my expectation is more of the mothers tonight. Tonight the two beautiful sons of Bibi Zainab alayhi salam are martyred. And in what way were they martyred? The expectation is of the mothers tonight. Because Bibi Zainab didn't cry for her sons. She was ashamed to look in the eyes of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. That may Abu Abdullah al-Hussein not be sad of what has happened, but with courageousness, showing that I'm happy that my two sons gave their lives for wilayat. They gave their two lives for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. Whenever Allah wants to give an example of love, He gives the example of the love of a mother. It doesn't matter how old you are. When you lose your mother, it's like you've lost your backbone. A mother, the love of a mother is explained exactly the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to His creation. This love is sacred. This love is beautiful. And of course, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam has this love and in abundance to her two sons. Let's see what a mother has done in Karbala. These are the lessons that we can learn from Karbala. Bibi Zainab sent her two sons to Imam Hussein. She said to her sons, go get permission from Abu Abdullah al-Hussein before you go to war. When they approach Abu Abdullah, Imam said, don't stand here, go to your mother. Don't make me ashamed of looking at the eyes of Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. The two boys come back to their mother Bibi Zainab sends them back again. It's narrated that she sends her sons back 8 times. Every time clothing them, dressing them, combing their hair, making them beautiful, making them ready for shahadat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. From Zainab then comes to Abu Abdullah, "Oh brother, I've gave milk to these boys so that they may give their life for you. When the time comes," now it's that time, Ya Abu Abdullah, Ya Imam Hussein, now the time has come for me to sacrifice my 2 sons for you. This is nothing to pay for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. It's nothing except this gift from me, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. From the lisan of Bibi Zainab, this is told. "Oh Hussein, look at their swords, they are ready." This is when Hazrat Abbas comes in. Hazrat Abbas wants Imam Hussein to know that these 2 sons are my students in the battlefield. These are not 2 normal soldiers. These are soldiers that have been taught by me, Abul Fadl al-Abbas. This is the way that they wield their swords. It's not an ordinary way they wield their swords. They wield their swords like their uncle, Abul Fadl al-Abbas. "Oh Hussein, look at their swords. They are ready, waiting, but like a butterfly for your permission, so they can run to the battlefield with the zikr of Ya Ali, so that they can run to the battlefield with the zikr of Ali on their lips." Abbas turns to his sister, "Oh sister, marhaba, marhaba. These 2 little men of yours are like lions. I'm shocked with the speech and the skill that they fight in." It is as if that Abbas is shocked with their skill. This is not a skill that I've taught. This is a nadil from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them to fight like this. This is because of the way that they believe in Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. "Oh, I've gave my 2 sons for you, Abu Abdullah. I spoke to my 2 sons, may you revenge the bruised cheek in Medina." Bibi Zainab alayhi salam is still mourning her mother. "May you avenge the bruised cheek in Medina." The Imam could not handle anymore. He says to his 2 beloved, "Go, but come back quickly. Don't stay too long. Don't go too far." However, this army of Yazid, it's made of the worst people on earth. They first kill the youngest, so the older sees. When the older brother comes above the head of his younger, he wipes the blood from his face. Something happened to him just like it happened to his grandmother. A spear punctures his ribs. Of course, they have to take the brothers of Zainab by surprise. They don't fight like men. They don't fight face to face. The spear is pierced to the rib of the son of Bibi Zainab. Hussein runs to the battlefield to hug them both,
close to his chest, bringing them back to the tents of the women. This is the part that Bibi Zainab shows her patience, shows how high she is in terms of spirituality. The beauty of her action is shown here. Bibi Zainab would come out of the tents after every shaheed of Karbala. She was the first of the women and the one to calm them down. She was the one to calm all the women down. She was the one to calm Abu Abdullah al-Hussein down. But when she heard that her two sons have been Arab, she doesn't come out the tents. She doesn't even take the curtains apart to look at a peek. She sees when the women come to her and say, Ya Zainab, your two sons have been martyred, come out. She says, no, I cannot look at Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. I cannot look into his eyes and see him be ashamed. I cannot look at that. 40 days after Ashura, Zainab alayhi salam uses the same thing. When they come back to the grave of Abu Abdullah, to the Qatligah, Bibi Zainab whispers, Oh Hussein, I did not ask about the whereabouts of my two sons. Oh Hussein, please don't ask what happened to Ruqayyah. Oh Hussein, please don't ask what happened to Ruqayyah. Ask from everyone, but don't ask from Ruqayyah, please. Don't ask. I cannot mention what happened to Ruqayyah. Hussein, don't ask from Ruqayyah. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون باسمك الأعظم يا الله يا اللهم جل وليك الفرج اللهم جل وليك الفرج Oh Allah by Hussein اللهم جل وليك الفرج وعافية والنار محمد وآل محمد
صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء إن كان عندك عبرة تجريها فانزل بأرض الطف كي نسقيها فعسى نبل بها مضاجع فصفوة ما بلت الأكباد من جاريها ولقد مررت على منازل عصمة ثقل النبوة كان ألقي فيها فبكيت حتى خلتها ستجنني ببكائها حزنا على أهليها وذكرت إذ وقفت عقيلة حيدر مذهولة تصغي لصوت أخيها بأبي التي ورثت مصائب أمها، فقدت تقابلها بصبر أبيها، تدعو فتحرق القلوب كأنما يرمي حشاها جمرة من فيها. هذه نساؤك من يكون إذا سرت في الأسر سائقها ومن حاديها، أيسوقها زجر بضرب متونها والشمر يحدوها بسب أبيها. عجبا لها بالأمس أنت تصونها واليوم آل أمية تبديها. صلوات.
بر خاتم انبیا محمد صلوات. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد و آل محمد. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for attending tonight. As His Eminence Sheikh mentioned, is devoted to Teflan Zainab and Muhammad. And they asked their mother to go into the battle. And obviously, she said that I have given my permission, but you need to ask your uncle. And obviously, in the first, he may refuse, and you can ask your uncle that if you have respect for the soul of your mother, Fatima Zahra, give us the permission. Obviously, exactly the same thing happened, and Imam refused them going to the battle, and then they asked their uncle, if you have a respect for the soul of your mother Fatima Zahra, give us permission to go to the battlefield. And after the Shahada, Imam came to their bodies and hugged them and moved them toward the Khiyam, and everybody came in screaming and wailing, except Sheikh mentioned Zainab alayhi salam didn't come. And when they asked the reason, I said, if I go outside like everybody else, I also start wailing. And they don't want to see my brother sees me that I am wailing. Shahid Teflan Zainab, Shahid Teflan Zainab, Shahid Teflan Zainab, Shahid Teflan Zainab. The words as easy if you want to repeat. Shahid Teflan Zainab, Shahid Teflan Zainab, Shahid Teflan Zainab, Shahid Teflan Zainab. Ilahi kun nazar bar hal Zainab, Ilahi kun nazar bar hal Zainab. Khazan shod gulshan amal Zainab, Khazan shod gulshan amal Zainab. برای دین حق اون و محمد، برای دین حق اون و محمد. به میدان می روند اطفال زینب، به میدان می روند اطفال زینب. دل ما شد هوایی، شده وقت جدایی. اسید آوای زهرا، رسید آوای زهرا. بیا مادر کجایی، بیا مادر کجایی. برای لاله هایت کن دعایی، برای لاله هایت کن دعایی. شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب. فتاده بر دل زینب شراره، فتاده بر دل زینب شراره. بریزد از دو چشمانش ستاره، بریزد از دو چشمانش ستاره. نظاره می کند با قلب پرخون، نظاره می کند با قلب پرخون. که جسمش را، که جسم پاکشان شد پاره پاره، که جسم پاکشان شد پاره پاره. نوا آمد ز میدان، نوا آمد ز میدان. بیا دایی حسین جان، بیا دایی حسین جان. بگیر این گاه آخر سر ما را به دامان. شدم آخر فدای دین و قرآن. شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان. دوباره سینه ها ماتم سرا شد، دوباره سینه ها ماتم سرا شد. دوباره خیمه ها غرق عذاب شد. کنار پیکر آن محمد، کنار پیکر آن محمد. دوباره محشر کبرا به پا شد. یکی در دست سقا، یکی در دست مولا. یکی آغوش حیدر، یکی آغوش زهرا. کند این صحنه را زینب تماشا. شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب. برادر جان فدای گریه هایت، برادر جان فدای گریه هایت. حسین گریه نکن زینب فدایت، حسین گریه نکن زینب فدایت. اگر چه لاله هایم غرق خون شد، اگر چه لاله هایم غرق خون شد. فدای تار موی بچه هایت، فدای تار موی بچه هایت. شوم قربان سرت را، علی اکبرت را. بیا خواهر ببوسم گلوی اطهرت را. مبر با خود دگر انگشترت را، مبر با خود دگر انگشترت را. شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب، شهید طفلان زینب. صلوات الله.
हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है, फलक के दामन से आ रही है। हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है, फलक के दामन से आ रही है। हाय ये खून नाहक छुपेगा क्यों कर, ये खून नाहक छुपेगा क्यों कर, जिसे ये दुनिया छुपा रही, जिसे ये दुनिया छुपा रही है। हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही, फलक के दामन से आ रही है। हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है, फलक के दामन से आ रही है। गरीब मौला की बेकसी है, गरीब मौला की बेकसी, गरीबी मौला की बेबसी, अभी तलक वो जमीन करबल है, अभी तलक वो जमीन करबल आंसू बहा रही है। हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है, फलक के दामन से आ रही है। हो ये सब्र तेरा तेरी इबादत, राय हक में तेरी शहादत, ये सब्र तेरा तेरी इबादत, राय हक में तेरी शहादत, तेरी सदाकत की दास्तान है, तेरी सदाकत की दास्ताने ज़माने भर को सुना रही है। हुसैन तेरी है, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है, फलक के दामन से आ रही है। कबूल करना के सर कटाना, कबूल करना के सर कटाना, मगर न बातल से खौफ खाना, मगर न बातल से खौफ खाना, समझ सके तो सुने ज़मान है, समझ सके तो सुने ज़माना, अज़ल भी आंसू बहा रही। हुसैन तेरी है, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है, फलक के दामन से आ रही है, फलक के दामन से आ रही है। मगर ज़ई है जवान बेटे की लाश लेने चले हैं मकतल को शाह वाला, जवान बेटे की लाश लेने चले मकतल को शाह वाला, मगर ज़ईफ़ी कदम कदम है, मगर ज़ईफ़ी कदम कदम पर उठा रही है, बैठा रही। हुसैन तेरे खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है। जनाब आदम हजूर अकरम, जनाब आदम हजूर अकरम, हजरत ईसा गरज के दुनिया, हुसैन तेरी बेबसी पर, हुसैन तेरी बेबसी दुनिया आंसू बहा रही है। हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है, फलक के दामन से आ रही है। हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही, फलक के दामन से आ रही। हुसैन मैदान करमेल है, हुसैन मैदान करबला में अजब मोती लुटा रहे हैं। हुसैन मैदान करबल में अजब मोती लुटा रहे, जवान बेटे भतीजे भाई है, जवान बेटे भतीजे भाई की ही लाशें उठा रहे हैं। हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है, फलक के दामन से आ रही।
إلهنا نسألك وندعوك بمحمد وعلي وفاطمة والحسن والحسين والتسعة المعصومين من ولد الحسين، فرج عنا يا الله فرجا قريبا عاجلا كلمح البصر. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نهدي للجميع ثواب الفاتحة مع الصلوات. اللهم
हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है, फलक के दामन से आ रही है। हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है। ये खून नाहक छुपेगा क्यों कर, ये खून नाहक छुपेगा क्यों कर, जिसे ये दुनिया छुपा रही हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही। ये सबर तेरा तेरी इबादत राय हक में तेरी शहादत, ये सब्र तेरा तेरी इबादत राय हक में तेरी शहादत, तेरी सदाकत की दास्ताने, तेरी सदाकत की दास्ताने ज़माने भर को सुना रही। हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू, हुसैन तेरे लहू की खुशबू फलक के दामन से आ रही है। कबूल करना के सर कटाना, कबूल करना के सर कटाना, मगर न बातल से खौफ खाना, मगर न बातल से खौफ खाना, समझ सके तो सुने जमाना, समझ सके तो सुने जमाना।
Ya Allah. Is it working? Yeah. Ya Allah. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على يلا يا الله. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليًا أمير المؤمنين وأولاده المعصومين بالحق حجج الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد أشهد أن علي ولي الله أشهد أن علي ولي الله إلا الصلاة إلا الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير من حي على خير الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن علي ولي الله أشهد أن معصومين وجد الله حي على الصلاح حي على الصلاح حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل الخير قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فصبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف الشهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد استغفر الله وربي أتوب إليه إنه كان غفارا الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر. أستغفر الله وربي أتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف الدليل. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
متين it doesn't work.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد النبي وعلى ذريته وعلى أهل بيته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله الذي يفعل ما يشاء ولا يفعل ما يشاء غيره. سبحانك لا إله إلا أنت. اغفر لي ذنوبي كلها جميعا فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب كلها جميعا إلا أنت. اللهم إني أسألك بوجهك الكريم واسمك العظيم وملكك القديم أن تصلي على محمد وآله وأن تغفر لي ذنبي العظيم، إنه لا يغفر الذنب العظيم إلا العظيم، بحق محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن معصومين حجج الله، يا للصلاح يا للصلاح يا للفلاح يا للفلاح يا رخيل المنهج الخير. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من 1000 الشهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمد ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك الأمان يوم لا ينفع المال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب السليم. الله أكبر. الله. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله. أستغفر الله وربي أتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمد ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي أتوب إليه. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله وربي أتوب إليه إنه كان غفارا. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمد ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد.
الله أكبر. أستغفر الله وربي أتوب إليه. الله أكبر.
سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمد ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف الذليل المذنب.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي وارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. اجزهما بالإحسان إحسانا وبالسيئات غفرانا. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم اغن كل فقير. اللهم اشبع كل جائع. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اقض عنا الدين واغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نهدي للجميع ثواب الفاتحة مع الصلوات. اللهم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رضي الله ربا وبإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله نبيا وبالقرآن كتابا وبعلي عليه السلام وليا وإماما حسن بن علي وحسين بن علي وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد وحسن بن علي وحجة الله على خلقه. اللهم جل وليك الفرج وعافية والناس. صلوات محمد وآل محمد.
Recording stopped.